Hi, I'm John Moulis and welcome to this climb up Mount Taylor. Now I'm going to climb up Mount Taylor using the GoPro attached to the chest harness. Now I'm going to put the chest harness on now. You might get a bit of a rocky picture for the next couple of seconds, but I'll put it on and then we'll go up Mount Taylor. Okay, now I've got the chest harness on now and hopefully everything will work out fine. Now we're just coming up to this entrance to the path up Mount Taylor, the walkway up Mount Taylor. This is colloquially known as the Zig-Zag Track up Mount Taylor. The proper name, the formal name for it, is Mount Taylor Walking Track. Now we're just going between these two houses here, and then once we get past the houses, we'll go on to the first part of the track, which will be leading up to the formal start of the track, and then we'll go up Mount Taylor. It takes about 15 minutes to get up Mount Taylor. I'll just go past this first gate here. Okay. Now this is a preliminary part of the track to get up to Mount Taylor, the start of the track formally. I'll just show you a view of the mountain before we go up. 855 metres above sea level, the second highest mountain in Canberra. Only second highest behind Mount Majura, equal in height to Tuggeranong Hill. Mount Taylor is between Woden and Tuggeranong in South Canberra. Okay, now we're coming up to the start of the track. This is probably the most popular track up Mount Taylor. There are 4 tracks up Mount Taylor. This particular track, the Zig-Zag Track, was constructed in 2007 and it replaced the old Richmond Fellowship track, which was a very steep track that went directly up the side of the mountain. It became very dangerous. There's the sign for the Mount Taylor Walking Track. Yeah, it became very dangerous. They made a couple of attempts to try and reinforce it, to try and make it safer. The most recent one was the early 1990s. Now we're coming up to the second gate here. They thought they'd fixed it up then, but there were heavy rains after that, and the steps that they put in eroded, got big holes in them. Now here we are, the floodway at the bottom of Mount Taylor. This was installed in 1971 after the Great Flood of 1971. There's a bit of water in it because we've had a bit of rain recently. Okay. Now we're coming up to the formal start of the Mount Taylor Walking Track. This part of the track is concrete. It's the only part of the the track which is concrete. The rest of the track is packed gravel. It's a very good track. They did a good job on this. Now we've come up to the welcoming sign for the Mount Taylor Nature Reserve. You can see here the track we're going to go, Zig-Zag Track up the mountain. Welcome to Mount Taylor Nature Reserve. Okay, here we go. This first section of the track is the longest because it's at the base of the mountain. So therefore this section will be the longest. We'll just pass over a slight rock face here as we climb Mount Taylor. Now that section there, you can see part of the old Richmond Fellowship track. Very treacherous track leading directly vertically up the mountain. Decommissioned in 2007 and replaced by this track, the Zig-Zag Track. Got a few little steps here coming up. There's the view from the bottom of Mount Taylor. It'll get more spectacular as we go up. Here comes someone now. Right, here's another information sign. It's the only sign which isn't on a change of direction. This one. This sign is headed Land Formation, about the geology of Mount Taylor. Now, we'll continue to proceed up the mountain, and we're coming up to the first change of direction. Hopefully we might see a couple of kangaroos up here this time, but kangaroos are very rare on this section of the mountain. They're very common on the access road. I mean, the access road, it's a maintenance trail, it's not open to the public. And that's where all the kangaroos seem to congregate. Got a bit of wildlife here, a few magpies. They're very tame magpies, these ones. They're not flying away when I come up close to them. So they're obviously used to people here. Now we're just coming up to the first change of direction. Another sign here. This sign is headed Wildlife, about the birds and animals on Mount Taylor. Okay, here we go with the second change of direction. There's a couple of small groves of casuarina trees on this section of the track. We'll pass through them shortly. Okay, the track's dried out quite a lot. We had a lot of rain last week, but the track isn't as wet as when I came up here last week. As we pass through this little grove of of casuarinas. Right. Right, there's the old Richmond Fellowship track directly up the mountain. You can see that look up Mount Taylor. There's the view down. Right, there's the view from the Woden side of Mount Taylor. Okay, here we go in the second little grove of casuarinas. Now we're coming up here, a bit of a steep section of the track here. Right, there's the view up towards the top of the mountain. There's the view down. View's getting a lot more spectacular. Now we're just coming up here to the next changing direction. Coming up here to the next sign. And this sign is headed prime real estate for lizards, about all the reptiles on Mount Taylor. Okay. Can't see any kangaroos, unfortunately. There's the view up Mount Taylor. We'll go on a little bit further past the trees and we'll see the view down Mount Taylor. Right. Woden Town Centre in the centre of the shot. Black Mountain Tower in the background. Okay. It's a beautiful winter's day in Canberra. The temperature's about 12 degrees. We've had snow in several parts of New South Wales during the week, in the central west and up at Goulburn and places like that, the Blue Mountains, but no snow in Canberra. Canberra's usually the first place to get snow in weather conditions like this, but we didn't get it this time. Okay. Now this is the rest bench which signifies that we're 3/4 of the way up the mountain. This rest bench is made from railway sleepers, old railway sleepers. Now we'll continue up. Now we're coming up to the next change in direction. Coming up to the sign here. This sign is headed vegetation, about all the trees on Mount Taylor. That's where we've come from, and that's where we're going. Now this section of the track is the second last section of the track, by far the steepest section of the track. We'll be coming up to a rock face which has natural steps over it and man-made steps. There you can see the old Richmond Fellowship track directly up to the top of the mountain. And you can see the view here. It's getting very close to the view we'll see at the top of the mountain. Okay, here we go. We're approaching the steepest part of the mountain, the steps over the rock face. There you can see in front of us there's the rock face. Here we come up the mountain. We're just about over the natural steps, and now we'll come up to the man-made steps with planks of wood holding the earth back. Okay. That's where we've come from. That's where we're going to. We're just coming up to the final change of direction. We've got another sign here. This one is headed Fire, Nature and People, about all the fires on Mount Taylor. And just over there is the access road, the access track. It's normally closed to the public, but I've heard that if you phone up Parks and Conservation, they might let you go up. Okay, we're coming up to the final part of the track, and in a minute or so we'll be at the summit of Mount Taylor. We've got a bit of a wind blowing at the moment. Apologies if it's hitting the microphone if you're getting a loud noise. Now there's the trig point on Mount Taylor, which means we're almost at the top. There's usually always people up here at the top of Mount Taylor. It's by far the most popular mountain in Canberra. Okay, just coming up to the summit of Mount Taylor. Just coming up to this panoramic map here on the Woden side of the mountain, which points out all of the landmarks. And here is the view from the Woden side of Mount Taylor. Down there is Mawson. There you can see the Woden town centre in the centre of the shot, and you can see the Black Mountain Tower. Okay, now here's a rest bench here and a dish of water for the dogs. We're just walking down to the Tuggeranong side of Mount Taylor. Okay. There you can see the Brindabella Mountains in the background. Now that there is the National Transmission Station, rebroadcasting television to Woden and Tuggeranong. Now we're just coming up to the panoramic map on the Tuggeranong side of Mount Taylor. Okay, this is the Tuggeranong side of Mount Taylor. You can see the Brindabella Mountains. Oh, there's a bit of snow on the mountains in the background there, you can see. There's Lake Tuggeranong, and there was quite a bit of snow on the Brindabellas during the week. Most of it's melted now, but there's still a bit up there. Okay. Just walking back up. There's a few people walking up the Tuggeranong, from Tuggeranong on the Tuggeranong walking track. There's a rest bench there that it's only fairly new, that rest bench. It was only put there about 7 or 8 months ago. And this section of the track is paved. That was only done about 7 or 8 months ago. Now we're just walking up to the trig point, which is at the official summit of Mount Taylor, right at the very top. Here it is. Okay, we're just coming down Mount Taylor now. There's a few people coming up the fire trail, the other track up the mountain. They're walking up, they're not not driving up. But there you can see they've come up from the Chifley side. There's a car park down at Chifley. Now we'll proceed down the mountain the way we came up. There's our view again, the Woden Town Centre, as we come down the mountain. Yeah, pity we haven't seen any kangaroos. Perhaps in a future film I will come up the fire trail where there's always kangaroos on that part of the mountain. Not so much this side of the mountain because there's a lot more houses on this side of the mountain. There's someone there walking off the track, off the beaten track. They're walking there to the fire trail. Now we're coming down here, we'll come down to the first change of direction, leading back down the mountain. There he goes, he's found the fire trail. That guy there is walking up the fire trail. He didn't want to walk up the final section here that I walked on. Right. Here's the first change of direction, back to our sign, fire, nature and people. That's where we've come from, and that's where we're going. just shift the camera down a little bit because we're heading downwards now, so now this is the steepest section of the mountain again. The steps on the rock face. It's a lot more treacherous coming down than coming up. You've got to watch your footing here. G'day.
Come on.
Hey. Ooh, just coming through this little grove of trees on the rocky outcrop. And it should be plain sailing all the way down to the bottom of the mountain from now on. There's our view again. That's where we've just come from. We're coming down here to the next change of direction. Ooh, boy, nearly slipped there. Gee, would have been the first time I've slipped on this Zig-Zag Track. Here we come to the next change of direction. Okay, here's the sign for vegetation about all of the trees on Mount Taylor. This is usually, if you do see kangaroos, this is the section where you do see them. They're usually in that section there where I'm pointing at there. But unfortunately none here today. As we change direction and proceed down the mountain. We're about 3/4 of the way up the mountain, 1/4 of the way down the mountain. Just coming up to the rest bench, which signifies 3/4 of the way up the mountain. There it is. That guy with the dog who is in front of me, he just sat on the rest bench there. There's our view. There's the old Richmond Fellowship track. Not much left of it now. They've remediated it and they've tried to get rid of it over the years, and they've just about succeeded. A few people still use it, a few old stalwarts still try and use it, but generally speaking, everybody's using this track now, the Zig-Zag Track. Oh God, all the kindergarten are here.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey. Just coming down to the next change of direction. This is the second last change of direction here. Here's the sign, prime real estate for lizards. Now, the second last change of direction will be passing through the two little groves of casuarinas on the way down the mountain. Ooh, nearly slipped again. Wow. Oh, shit. Oh, pardon me. Ooh. Wow. The track has really dried out. I mean, last week when the track was still wet, you didn't slip at all, but there you go. Now we're coming up to the first little grove of casuarina trees as we pass through them. There's our view, framed by the trees. There's the view up the mountain where we've just come from. And there's the track that we've just walked down. Okay, here we go. That's the first little grove of casuarinas out of the way. You can get a clear view here from almost at the bottom of the mountain. Ooh. Slipping and a sliding, eh? Here we come. Bit of a damp section of the track here, so I won't slip here. Touch wood. It's a fairly thick grove of trees. I mean, you would think we were in the middle of the jungle here. That is impenetrable, that area. You can't walk off the beaten track in this section of the trail. Okay, we're just coming down to the final section of the track formally. Of course, there's still the section that leads down to where the car is, down to the very bottom of the mountain, but the Mount Taylor walking trail, formally, we're just approaching the last section of the track. And here's the sign here about wildlife on the mountain. Okay, here we go, the last section of the track, the longest section of the track, not counting the section up from the houses. Okay, there's a view from almost the bottom of the mountain. Ooh, nearly slipped again. Oh, I'll have to get some hiking shoes on next time. I'm just wearing my old gym runners. Now we're just passing over this little rock face here, nowhere near as steep as the one near the top of the mountain, only a few steps on this one. There's the sign in the middle of this section here. The only sign that isn't on a change of direction there. That's land formation about the geology of Mount Taylor. Now we're just coming down here. And there you can see where we're going to go, the very bottom of the mountain. You can see the bridge across the floodway there. We'll be down there. We've only got probably about 5 minutes at the most left in this trek. Just coming down to the last section here. Hey.
G'day.
Now we just passed the welcoming sign welcoming you to the Mount Taylor Nature Reserve. We're coming down here to the bridge over the floodway. Oh, we've got a few frogs in the floodway. There you can see the floodway. Bit of rain in the floodway. Now we're coming down here to the first gate. And then we'll be on the Homewood stretch. Oh, God, nearly slipped again. Gee. Right, that's the end of the Mount Taylor walking track formally. This section I didn't tell you on the way up, but this section here is the Bicentennial Walking Trail. You can see there, and there's the sign welcoming us to the Mount Taylor walking track. Dog dish underneath it. And now here we go back right back to where we started from, as the song says. When we get down to the last gate down here, I'll turn around and we give you a good look of Mount Taylor, where we've just come from. A bit of erosion on this section of the track. We're just coming down here to the first gate. Then we'll pass between those houses again, and we'll head back to the car. Okay, there it is, Mount Taylor, where we've just come from. We just went all the way up there. A few people have followed us down, a few dogs, and there it is. Okay, now the very last section of the trail now. Just pass under the first gate, or the second gate. Pass through these houses, and that'll be it. Hey, nice little rosella there. There he goes. Ah, nice one, crimson rosella. Oh, a few people have parked here and have gone up the mountain. There were no other cars parked here when I arrived, but there's a couple more now. Okay, well there's our walk up Mount Taylor. That's a car going past. Wow, that took a fair distance. The full 50 minutes we took that time. Normally my walks only take 45 minutes, but that's the full 50 minutes that time. Anyway, I hope you found this entertaining and educational. Thank you for watching. Thank you and goodbye.